3,000 is the number of grieving children and adults we served last year, up 47% from the previous year. 111. We are a small staff of 6, but we were able to serve 3,000 individuals because of our 111 volunteers. Volunteers are the heart of Michael's Place, and they serve in many roles. They serve as Robin's Nest mentors who focus on the unique grief of children, and they offer special day opportunities for our Create a Keepsake volunteers, who are these talented sewers who use the clothing of loved ones to create keepsake items such as teddy bears and pillows. To our office volunteers, who are usually the first contact of the newly bereaved, calling on the phone or coming into our center for the first time. We have volunteers who are navigators, who meet independently with our families and individuals before, when they're not yet ready to be in our support groups. And for our support group volunteers, who lead the conversations about life, loss, and learning to live again. At Michael's Place, we don't have a magic wand to take away the grief and sorrow. Instead, we have volunteers. For nearly 20 years, Michael's Place has provided support and advocacy for those grieving the death of a loved one. We work with people of all ages, across all walks of life in our 5-county region. And we do that at no cost. And we have been able to do this because of our volunteers. But we need more. 40. We need 40 more trained volunteers to help us increase our capacity to be able to serve our community. We have increased needs of support. And with the pandemic and the changes and the uncertainty in the world, how we have provided our volunteer training cannot continue. We need to make some changes. 100,000. We need your $100,000 to educate our staff and our volunteers on the impact of trauma and traumatic bereavement, to create training modules so that our volunteers can access our training at their own location, at their own time, and when it works for them, and that we can continue to offer volunteer training despite a pandemic or a snowstorm. We have to have a more robust, comprehensive, vigorous training program so that we can increase the capacity at Michael's Place of manpower with wisdom, so that we can help the grieving families, schools, and workplaces in our community. Your grant will create an entire team of skilled and prepared individuals ready to serve our Northern Michigan community. And you may ask, why is this important? Well, we're living in a pandemic, but we were already living in a pandemic. Deaths of despair are deaths from suicide and overdose. And it leaves the bereaved traumatically bereaved. There are so many layers of complications because the death itself is naturally complicated. And so the loved ones are left with isolation, shame, and guilt. 4,200. Last year in the state of Michigan, 4,200 individuals died from suicide or overdose. It is estimated that for every suicide, there are a minimum of 6 loved ones impacted by that death. In the state of Michigan, this means that in 2019, 25,000 were left traumatically bereaved. That means 25,000 children and adults are living with traumatic bereavement. And I am so afraid of what those numbers are going to look like from 2020. When our state shut down, Michael's Place We really shifted our grief support. We started with phone call support and then turned to grief telesupport, and we continue to adjust to be able to meet the needs of our grieving in our community, while also understanding the restrictions that we have. Well, the bereavement needs have dramatically changed during this time. We have families in our own community whose loved ones have died, and they have gone without the traditions of the funeral rituals, the gathering of family and friends. And I will tell you, people are not lining up outside their doors with casseroles in hand, offering to come in and sit down and have a conversation, leaving those grieving during this pandemic with greater isolation and disconnection. And they are turning to Michael's Place. And we have never had an influx like we have now. For 20 years, I have been the executive director of Michael's Place. And I will say that I have never seen such a severe toll that our work has taken on our staff. I straddle two worlds at Michael's Place. One is a world where I work with grieving children, grieving adults, and I hear what life looks like for them, and I understand that their needs are great, and the important work that we are doing is vital to their families. But right now, I also see the wear and tear that it is taking on our staff. Our community needs are greater than the capacity that we currently have at Michael's Place. But you are the answer. Your grant is the answer. It is the answer to help the bereaved in our community, and it is the answer to help our staff and volunteers have more help. We have created a sustainable model so that Michael's Place can be here for future generations. I want to end with a story. Last year, we had a young man who walked into Michael's Place, and he had been traumatically bereaved by the death of his mom. And when he came in to our office, I hadn't seen him in 10 years, and it must be like how teachers feel when students return. And it was like the Pied Piper when he came in, and our staff all wanted to gather around and hear how he was doing and what life looked like. And we loved hearing about his experiences. And it was during that initial conversation that he said to us, I needed to stop in here to let you know that Michael's Place saved me. And he was there to fill out a volunteer application and to be able to work with grieving teenagers like he had. You see, people come to Michael's Place because of death, but what they find is life. They find renewed hope, renewed life. In 2019, we served 3,000 individuals with 6 staff members, 111 volunteers. Today, I stand before you and say, we need a minimum of 40 more trained volunteers. We need your grant. We need your grant to be prepared for 2020 and prepared for every year to follow. You are the answer. On behalf of Michael's Place Board of Directors, our staff, volunteers, and the families we serve, thank you.